we have at least one person who has signed up to speak. We have, I don't know whether we have anybody else who is on our attendees list who wishes to speak, but I'll just go ahead and read these while we wait for Frank, although we may want to wait for him to receive the comment if he's planning to get on. Matters from the public. In order to allow the EDA to effectively conduct its business, public comment is limited to 15 minutes total. Each speaker may speak for up to 3 minutes and may only address the authority. If there are more than 5 speakers, the chair may limit the speaker's time to 2 minutes. Speakers cannot engage in speech or other behavior that disrupts the meeting. Speakers may include a visual or audio presentation, provided the presentation has been provided to the county's Economic Development Office at least 48 hours before the meeting. The authority requests that speakers adhere to the following guidelines. When called on to speak, state your name and magisterial district, address comments to the Economic Development Authority as a whole. Statements must concern matters on the EDA's meeting agenda. Written statements may be, well, I can skip that because we have, well, I won't read that anyway. Written statements may be submitted in addition to or in lieu of speech. Please deliver or email those to the county's Economic Development Office. Contact information is on the county's Economic Development website. We have received one written comment, which Avery's going to provide to everyone. At the end of 3 minutes, speakers will be asked to end comments. Actually, in this case, what we've done is we will have a notification when you have 30 seconds in your time, just so you can wrap it up, and then your microphone will stop after 3 minutes. If a speaker does not use all 3 minutes, the unused time cannot be shared with another speaker. Directors of the authority are not to respond. Back and forth debate is prohibited. Please be aware that all comments are live streamed, recorded, and published on the county's website and will be retained as a public record. Okay. Have we heard anything from Frank?
Not at this time.
All right. Seeing it's now 7 minutes in, I think we should just go ahead and proceed, and hopefully he'll be able to join us. So if anyone in the meeting other than Ms. Harriman, hopefully I pronounced that correctly, wants to speak, please let Ashley know so that she can promote you as a speaker, and I will hand it over to Ashley to do her technology magic for our speakers.
And I'll just say a program note, there's a slight delay when we recognize a speaker. And so there will be a little bit of a pause as we transition someone in order to be able to make comment aloud.
Ms. Harriman, can you confirm that you're able to hear and be heard?
I can hear. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Thank you
yes.
so much.
Great.
All right, we'll start the clock now.
Okay.
Thank you.
My name is Joy Hireman, and I'm a resident of the Samuel Miller District. I'm here to express my concerns about the Economic Development Strategic Plan. As an active community volunteer, vice president of the nonprofit Historic Batesville, and engaged citizen, when I came upon this plan, I was truly dismayed by its direction. It does not reflect the place where I live or what I and others want to see for its future. The plan is sorely underspecified in terms of its impacts, beneficial or otherwise. It ignores environmental concerns in this time of climate crisis. Most importantly, the drastic growth strategy it proposes has moved forward with minimal impact from county citizens. We would like to address this lack of transparency by scheduling a meeting with residents of the rural community, the Economic Development Authority, and county representatives prior to its adoption. Albemarle County is an extraordinary place whose citizens cherish its unique qualities. In a rush to grow the defense intelligence sector, life sciences, and a modern agribusiness economy, this plan proposes changing zoning and land use policies that protect Albemarle's special natural environment. Yet in the 2020 Weldon Cooper Center Community Survey, a majority of citizens already considered the county's rate of growth as too fast, citing overtaxed infrastructure, overcrowding, traffic, and a lack of affordable housing. This plan, this draft plan, needs to be revised to scale appropriately to Albemarle County and to the environmental challenges of our times. This document that will, quote, set the strategic direction and priorities of the county's economic development, but it's sorely lacking in quantitative analysis, vaguely promising increased commercial tax revenues and committing this county and its citizens to costly upgrades in infrastructure. We expect from you, the authority, a careful cost-benefit analysis for its numerous externalities. The significant environmental ramifications of this plan for growth need to be quantified and deliberated now, not left to the future when specific decisions will be made. I have many additional comments concerning which will be detailed in my written testimony, but the limits of time force me to end with a question for all of you. If the current economic development strategic plan were widely publicized and Albemarle County citizens were broadly aware, how will you explain its stealth process of development, its ambitious plans for defense, biotech, and agribusiness, and account for future impacts that will affect their quality of life? A meeting with rural residents would be a good place to test your answers. I look forward to getting this on the calendar very soon. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see that anyone else has asked to speak. Correct, Ashley?
That's correct.
Okay, then we will move on to new business, the Economic Development Strategic Plan. As I shared with you, Vice Chair Morrill has some comments that he wanted to put together, and we wanted to present those so he could talk about them before we did. I thought that made sense as the first thing to do, unless anybody else has any other thoughts they want to share first.
Well, did Jeff ask us to make a decision on vision versus mission or whatever in the slides you sent, Don?
So I think that's what he's gonna. We've got the slides, and he's gonna talk about them and let us know his sort of give us some of his thinking on those things.
Okay, great, thanks.
So if nobody else has anything else beforehand, Jeff, you want to talk through? I know Avery's put them up on two different slides. So Avery, you want to pull the first slide up, and then Jeff, you can talk about it.
Yeah, sure. Sounds good. And Avery, maybe you can scroll with me as I'm talking, because the slide doesn't have all of it. But yeah, and I think it's good just to start, because my intention here is not so much, Steve, as you're referring to have like that this is a resolution to be voted on or anything, but rather just to stimulate the discussion. And I'm very interested in hearing what the other directors have to say about the content in the slides. So yeah, the first one here, I'm proposing that we recommend to the supervisors changes to the vision and the mission. And these consequential statements provide the guiding principles for our work here. And big picture, I'm starting from the position that the whole point of government is to facilitate the conditions that encourage human flourishing.
Amen.
And that sounds very aspirational, but if you think about it for just a few moments, like that's what we're trying to do here. We want people to live good lives, And when I talk with neighbors and friends about what economic development means to them, I hear repeatedly from them that they don't want to sacrifice what they love about living here. Yes, they'd like lower taxes, they want vocational education, they want good jobs for their kids. But I also hear that it breaks their hearts to see huge farms turned into subdivisions, one right after the other, and they're definitely not asking for more traffic. They want to keep the Albemarle in Albemarle County. So I'd like to see language that acknowledges the tension that I'm describing here between growth and the expected and pretty predictable negative impacts of that growth, so we can balance these priorities and keep our focus on human flourishing. So I've divided it in two parts here, the vision and the mission. One option would be to just combine them. That would probably be my suggestion, because I don't, they're duplicative, they're overlapping. I don't think the vision, at least in its current form, conveys a lot of meaning, but I'd be open to keeping both. So anyway, if we want to keep both, you can see my proposed vision is stripped down a little bit. Albemarle will achieve economic prosperity, full employment opportunity, and environmental sustainability while preserving our exceptional quality of life. And then we can, before we talk about that, if it pleases the chair, I'll cover the mission, and then we can,
Sure.
we can
I think that's a good idea.
decide. So, as far as the mission goes, I tried to work with what was there, and rather than, a wholesale revision. And you can see I wanted to work people first. So the proposed suggestion for the supervisors would be deliver lasting prosperity for Albemarle residents by expanding employment opportunities, strengthening and diversifying our tax base, and supporting local businesses and redevelopment while protecting our environment and exceptional quality of life. So maybe, Don, the question I have for you here is, would you like me to move on to this? Do we want to discuss each slide independently, or would you like me to discuss both slides and
I think,
come back?
I mean, they're slightly, I mean, they're sort of different ideas. So why don't we talk about, get people's thoughts on your sort of first slide, the mission and vision. And I might ask Emily, what is the different focus of vision and mission, and how do you see those? And what happens if we combine them? What are your sort of general views, not on the specifics of what we're talking about, but kind of what the focus of those things should be? I mean, everybody may have their own ideas, but I'd be curious, since you've been working on this with the consultants, what they might say.
Thank you. So not getting into the specifics of what either would say, I think.
Hey, Emily, we're having a hard time hearing you all of a sudden.
In what way?
Okay, now you're fine. You were like fading away.
So I think not getting into the specifics of what they say, a vision and a mission are consistent with a lot of the ways that the county approaches we have several plans. We have a county-wide strategic plan that the board adopts that covers all the areas of local government. Updating the economic development strategic plan is actually one of the strategies in the county's strategic plan right now, for example. And there's also the biodiversity action plan, the climate action plan, several other plans. A vision and a mission are consistent with how those have been approached in the past. And I think functionally, they speak to the different ways that different people think about things. So some people are really mission oriented and they want to know, what is my mission? I think some people are more inspired by vision. What's our future state? And so having both, I think, just gives us some flexibility to talk a little bit about both. The vision is aspirational. It's where we want to be. It's where we want to get. And the mission is sort of our role in getting there. And that's sort of the broad context for why we have both. I think they're both helpful. They're certainly not both required. So I hope that's helpful background.
Yeah. What do comments from others? Bill, do you have some? We can't hear you, Bill.
Very low volume. I can hear you just barely, like you're from another room.
No.
Well, Don, you mind if I talk then? Because
Yeah, why don't you talk while
mine's quick. I I could go either way, but I do like it the way it is in terms of, you know, the aspirational, because, you know, Jeff, you said that this is aspirational, like Albemarle County will achieve increased economic prosperity or something like that. But I think I think the vision is important for make sure that people understand this is aspirational.
Right. I got my speaker back, I think.
Oh, I can
Yep,
hear you
yep,
now.
yep.
Yep.
Yep,
Yeah,
there you
was,
go.
yeah, my mic was my headphone. Anyway, I think Emily alluded to something or identified something that we need to understand and be clear with. I guess one, backing up a little bit, I understand this meeting was to prepare our brains for a discussion with the joint meeting of the Board of Supervisors,
Right.
correct? Okay, so that
Well,
we're prepared.
Yeah, I mean, it's also to the extent we have comments, give them now.
Yes,
So-
in preparation, so we're all on the
Right,
same
so
page
that
for the
they have
meeting of
that
the
in
board.
advance. Right.
Okay. This is an economic development plan. This is not a comp plan. This is not a Parks and Rec plan. This is not an infrastructure plan. This is not a land use and zoning plan. I think it's important to consider that, as Emily stated, this will become a piece of the comp plan. It zeroes in on economic development. It will be and needs to be aligned with the other parts of the comp plan, including our overall community vision, which would involve quality of life, right? This is one aspect of quality of life, is to, take advantage of the unique opportunities we have here to advance economic opportunity for our citizens and the businesses that they own and folks coming in, to facilitate the other goals, right? That we need to facilitate in the county, which might be related more to specific elements of quality of life, whether that be an infrastructure improvement, education, schools, building a park, or whatever. Nothing in this world is free. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out, that the plan's goals and vision are maybe purposely, my perception, purposely generically ambitious and are zeroed in on economic development. I think the reference to quality of life and alignment with our values and quality of life that Jeff has put forth has a lot of value in discussion, because we're going to probably get a lot of people to react in that way. Oh, hold up, like our current speaker or our recent speaker,
Yep.
with concerns about where is this leading. But I think it needs to be very clear what we're outlining here and what we're not outlining, right? There will be a process because of the things we have in place to ensure that the comp plan, special area plans, right? We have ARB, we have entrance corridor guidelines, we have all these things that will filter the perceived or actual aggressiveness of our goals and vision related to economic development. So anyway, that's my just context, how I perceive this. If I'm wrong, talking out of school, correct me, but I think that should be a context to consider.
And I think that's right in terms of I do know that, and Emily will correct me if I'm wrong, but the comp plan itself does refer to, references this plan, this plan references, the other plans, the climate action plan, I think
Right.
some of the others. So I think that's part of what we're talking about is where do you, how much do you need to bring in from each plan? But I think I agree with Jeff's idea that making clear that we all think it's important to continue and stress the value of living here. That's why we live here. That's what
Yes.
we want to keep, and that's part
Absolutely.
of the balance that we're making.
So perhaps when I was looking at this, maybe an objective, there's a lot of objectives here. Overall, ultimately, I guess it is about enhancing and complementing the quality of life, right, in the county. Like you all say, that means a lot of different things for a lot of people. Some folks haven't retired to certain neighborhoods and are living off their retirement funds, and they need a job. So that is important to their quality of life, is an opportunity to develop, get a job, get decent pay and benefits, develop their skills, maybe increase their education level and things like that. So quality of life, opportunity, generational opportunity, I would say. I'd like my kids to stay in the county and actually work in the biotech industry, because that's what they, that's that's their chosen profession, and they're very talented, intelligent, and I don't want them moving to Baltimore and DC to do that. Income level, our reputation for innovation and leadership, right? That's important to folks. The jobs, obviously, the access to a job nearby, not an hour away in Richmond or 2 hours away. And then obviously the tax base issue, which, as we know, we have a grossly undiverse tax base, and we are missing out on opportunities, and we're not increasing amenity and opportunity in our county because there's limited funds. So anywho, I would just offer that, and also offer that, given that this is a specific plan to economic development and that we have these processes, I propose to be careful about diluting, right, the what's the word? I guess just not diluting the intensity of our vision and goal, knowing that yes, it has to be right sized to fit our community values and get into alignment. So I would just suggest that we need to be careful about not diluting the strength of our vision.
We have David, do you have any thoughts?
Oh, sure. I can come up with something.
You think you could find
quick.
some?
I can find some. There's a great deal of merit in what Bill has said and what Jeff has proposed here. And if we consider this as part of Albemarle County's comprehensive plan, I think we do more than just nod to the things that make Albemarle Albemarle. This is not the community I first came to almost 40 years ago as a UVA student. It's not the community I moved to 20 years ago, or over 20 years ago, when I came to work for the university. So it's changed, and it will continue to change. And that change is probably more rapid now than it was even 5 or 10 years ago. And we need to adjust for that. I don't think any of us on this authority or anyone on the Board of Supervisors actively wants to destroy, as Jeff has phrased it so well, the exceptional quality of life. But as we know, that quality is going to take different pieces. And as someone with young kids who are going through the Albemarle County school system now, I worry that we have already priced them out of living locally without our ability to lower a potential tax burden or creating good starter housing and missing middle housing for them, which we can do through economic development in some respects, but also through a comprehensive look that the county is doing. I don't have a problem with Jeff's proposals. Honestly, the current drafts feel a little bit, they come from very much a business-centric perspective, which makes sense. And it may just feel to people not engaged in this community like it's a lot of jargon, whereas Jeff's feel a little more, I don't want to say common is the right word, but a language that speaks to more people, that is more inclusive in terms of referencing everyone. So just for these points, that's where I'm ready to go now. So happy to have anybody's thoughts on those if they'd like to share.
Have we heard from Frank? Do we know anything about what his status is? I mean, I think we just need to continue, but I'm just curious because I know he had thoughts, but obviously he can provide them.
He
Don?
did, Don, he did text that he was going to listen to the meeting or be involved in the meeting via his telephone. But that was about 10 minutes ago. So whether or not it's happened, I'm not sure if he's on board.
Okay. All right. B, do you have any thoughts you want to share?
Okay, as a non-member of the board.
Is it well, yeah, I mean, I think what would
Yeah.
my one question I would have for you is what do you think is helpful for the board in terms of guidance? I mean, my reaction, and you can tell me whether this is wrong, is that really probably what's helpful for the board is for us to say, hey, here are the things that we think are important, and here are the issues that we would like you to consider as you're making this decision. But if you've
Right.
got other
Uh-huh.
ideas.
I am actually very impressed by all the comments of the members that I've heard from so far, because they're very thoughtful. You guys are really bright, frankly. I understand when I read, and we're looking just at the vision right now, right? When I read the one about proposed, and maybe it's my logical thinking, but when it says will achieve and full employment, those are almost promises that I don't know if you can ever, frankly, if you can ever achieve those. So those two I have a problem with, to say will and full.
Right.
That I have a concern about myself. But I don't know, maybe combining the two. I do understand that we are an EDA, so it is economic. And we want to achieve the proposed through economic development. So whether or not we combine that, I know we have an exceptional quality of life, but economic development, our business scale, partnerships, it is changing Albemarle. I mean, it has to, because everyone's not happy about the increased taxes. And frankly, they're just going to go up unless we do something. We're at 11.7 for commercial. We need to be at 15 to 17% for commercial. So we do have to do something in order to lower the tax burden for our residents to have economic prosperity, employment opportunity, environmental sustainability. You know, only when you have a strong economy can really you be generous in the social programs. Without a strong economy, you can't do that. So you need one in order to do the other. But I do understand there are a lot of people that have been here, because I hear from them many, many, many years. I've only been here almost 20, and I've seen the change. That's okay, because, you know, where I come from, it's a lot less than what I know, but it is people do worry about that. And we either grow and move forward, frankly, or we stay behind and we don't grow. I mean, people will come here. So even if it's for the environmental, even if it's for the natural beauty and everything, we are going to have more and more people coming here. That's a matter of, that's a fact of life. And I think 25% of the population is older. And do we put the tax burden on them? So we do have to, I am I guess what I'm saying is, I'm not against the proposed or incorporating it in with the current draft with maybe a couple modifications.
Mhm.
But I don't have a say about that. You all do.
Well,
Hey,
somebody
Don,
gonna say
Don,
something?
you want to, can I ask a question?
Sure, sure.
And it's, you guys might be tired of me saying this, but I guess just maybe kind of elementary, sophomoric or whatever, how can the county, only 5% of our land is developable. So 95% is not. So of course it appears crowded. All the growth's on 29. Everybody lives in one spot. And in my mind, it's not, maybe it's not an economic question, maybe it's a math question. I mean, is that sustainable and is it legitimate as we expand? Because what we're guaranteeing ourselves is everybody on 29, and that's it for all the time. And it's not feasible, and it does make the quality of life dissipate. Because I've been here 18 years, and it's different, but it's all in the same spot. I just don't know, and I understand, like our speaker, I'm certain that there's where if she's one, there's a gazillion that feel that way. But I just don't know if it's a legitimate way to proceed. Only 5% can be developed. So we're only arguing about 5%, and I don't even know. Somebody answer me. Is that, but here's one more just simple question, because I don't know the answer to this. I'm not baiting anybody, but does the 5% that's developable, does that include what's developed already, or does that exclude? Because I mean, if you look how much land UVA takes, good gracious, I mean, how much are we actually talking about where we could put in, increased housing or what have you, or industry? It's minute.
I'm just, excuse me for interrupting. I will tell you there is more room for growth in the development area.
Okay.
And what you
I don't see it, but I guess
Well,
you
yeah,
have to
we do, but
transport people above each other.
yeah, it has to go higher and denser. And that's how you also solve the middle housing crisis. But there is room, but we have some very large Fashion Square, Seminole Square, Albemarle Square. We have to wait until the developers, till it's economically feasible for the developers to come in and propose something great, because their land, we can't tell them what to do, but hopefully we can build a lot of homes. I will tell you that if you're familiar with Seminole Square, where the Kroger is, they're planning on building that's in Charlottesville, but they're planning on building 300 units there. Next to where the old Marshalls was.
Yep.
Directors, just for your reference, Director Friedman has joined the call.
All right.
I'm sorry I was late. I got tied up.
No worries.
I hope not
That's all right.
literally. Hope not literally.
Yeah.
Well, and Bill probably can answer, Steve could probably answer your question.
Yeah.
My understanding is and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is the 5% includes developed land. That is,
That's what I think.
I mean, developed and undeveloped, and that the developable land remaining is only 3% of that 5% for things like critical slopes and those sorts of things. And it is, as B said, I mean, one of the issues is, while we do have sort of greenfield type land, there is a lot of underdeveloped or land that could be redeveloped, but there are costs that come with that make it more expensive than developing something where there's a building and those sorts of things.
Of course, it'll be more expensive because we're only talking about 3% of the land now, right? So the rest.
Not land cost, but just you have to figure out where the easements are, and you have to tear stuff up, and you have to do those sorts of things. But yes, I mean, I think so.
Yeah.
Does that sound right, Bill?
Yeah, and let me offer this. I think getting too far in the weeds on that issue.
I know, I'm sorry. I
Is,
know.
is,
I'm just like, I don't know how we get there. from here.
right, no, I think, you know, there's metrics that will be developed. You know, again, we have an economic development plan we're outlining, has ambitious goals. They're general on purpose, right? They will align with our other instruments of planning that we have through the comp plan and otherwise. Part of this, I agree completely with Jeff's sentiment, because this is going to be a concern of all our citizens. We're representing citizens in the economic development capacity, in terms of integrating the concept and reference to the whole purpose of this is obviously to, I would say, strengthen, complement, enhance whatever our quality of life, right? But maybe perhaps, as B, you know, wisely recommended, we avoid whatever the lawyers would call those words, will, you know, shall, will, you know, all that, those kinds of words, and leave it up to the process. And again, in terms of what Steve's talking about, yeah, that could be true, right? Your perception could be accurate, or once we understand really what our redevelopment, you know, brownfield, a gray field reuse, redevelopment opportunities are, our current properties opportunities are, we may have plenty of capacity in the growth area. We don't know that yet. The counties may have already done an analysis through the planning department. That needs to get done. So I guess that leads to, I just want to say, I agree with what the sentiment Jeff is offering here. You're going to be careful about the language. Ultimately, it's evident and obvious and should be communicated that there are next steps to this plan in terms of moving it forward that we've talked about at previous meetings, like assigning metrics specifically to it, right? What does that translate to? What does the goal translate to? We want to, and it could just start with the example of tax base. If we're trying to diversify tax base by percentages, that equals dollars. That all backs into actual stuff we can quantify that we can assign to industries, so on and so forth. And then we understand the metrics of you know, what kind of land and resources those industries take, and we can get a better picture of it. But anyway, point being is there's more detail to be defined after this overall economic development plan.
I will say, I honestly feel that what happens with our economic development plan and with things that may happen in the future, I do believe that is going to pave the way for probably more development along 29. That seems to be, and I told people that. I said, look,
Yeah.
I said, if we develop anywhere, it's not going to be out in all these other areas. It's going to be up 29 because that's where it makes the most sense. That's where you have the infrastructure and easy to put the infrastructure in there for development. I mean, that's logical to me. And that's my area. So I tell the residents that too.
Frank, I don't know if you've had a chance to sort of get up to speed here to offer your thoughts. Basically what Jeff had prepared, you saw the information Jeff provided. We've been talking about the slides and the information that's up on the screen in terms of, you know, what are your thoughts? You've been through lots of strategic planning exercises. I'm sure you've got thoughts on visions and missions and how they should be crafted.
I think Jeff did an excellent job in what he has proposed, but I also think that the consultants who were hired to propose a vision and mission, and then the rest of the plan flowing from the vision and mission. And I just don't think it should be our job at this point to wordsmith the vision and mission. I would tend to go with what the consultants have given us. Although I think what Jeff has put in there is very well written. The problem with vision and mission statements is if you get 100 people, you get 100 vision statements
Sure.
and 100 mission statements. Everybody has different words they like and different emphases they like. Once we open that can of worms, I don't know where it stops. So that's kind of my feeling. I also feel terms like exceptional quality of life can be interpreted in so many ways. My quality of life and an unemployed individual in the county's quality of life is really quite different. And terms like that, I think, can be used to almost promote anything, and we should probably avoid things like that. So I guess bottom line, I can live with any of these, but the consultants were hired and this is what they proposed, and I think we should just let their wording go forward.
All right. Well, Frank, I appreciate you complimenting my cardio or writing skills, which is what they are. My only comment would be, I guess I don't have that much confidence in consultants. They don't live
No.
here. They're not going to live here. Like my wife and I discussed this. We intend to have our ashes spread on the property
Well,
where we
let
live
me say
now. So,
this. I said this at our last economic development meeting. I'm not impressed with the work the consultants did. I find a laundry list of 100 suggested actions with no indication of what's the priority, with no indication of who should be doing what on those actions or when they should be done. I don't find that an extremely valuable strategic plan. I also think when they tell you go do marketing, but they don't tell you where, how, who, when, what to emphasize, nothing strategic at all. And they say, go develop a brand for Albemarle County. Okay. Any thoughts on strengths, weaknesses, things we should mention? No, it's not in there. I was disappointed in that their roadmap, if you will, wasn't very strategic. So I agree with you, Jeff. I was not blown away by their work in general. But rather than worry about the wording on the vision and mission, I would want to look more at what are the actions that they're recommending? What are the priorities for Albemarle County? You can't do 100 things at once. I thought there were things omitted that I was surprised were omitted. Dee just mentioned the almost empty shopping centers on 29. Yeah, they could be developed as housing, but is there a way they could be developed for economic development? Nothing in there about that. I don't remember seeing anything about North Fork and how that fits into Albemarle County's strategic plans. So I guess there were things that were omitted that surprised me also.
Yeah, Frank, I'm just going to quickly mention that the plans for the shopping centers, we'd like to work with the developers. We'd love to have commercial on the bottom and then go up and have housing on top of that. So we'd like to combine both. But that's in the county's plan.
Yeah, but I was just surprised that there's no mention of that, I don't think, in what the consultants gave us. And that to me was rather surprising.
We are limited as to what the developers will actually do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And Frank, what I heard you say first was, this has a lot to do, and we can't do everything. And then you're asking for either more in terms of the redevelopment of brownfield spaces like Albemarle Square and Fashion Square. And maybe we need to get away from the squares there. But we do, right? So we have all these potential industries in Albemarle County. What we've got is 3 areas for the Economic Development Office to focus on. And I don't know that I want consultants who is, in Jeff's words, who don't live here, who aren't from here, who aren't going to stay here, recommending marketing plans. I don't know that I want a generic marketing plan from a consultant. They came and talked to a lot of people, and there are firms, local firms that do great marketing work that we can hire and keep the business locally. And there are national firms who would jump at the chance to work with Albemarle County to develop a marketing plan in that way. This is a 5-year vision, a 5-year goal. I don't want all of the specifics. I've been looking at the written plan and not just the slides. And it talks about these are the metrics we're going to look at, and these are the things we're going to do. I think this gives us a place to go from and to lead from as an authority, as an office, with, of course, the Board of Supervisors' blessing, in how to get Albemarle to grow. Because it's growing. And if the only people who can afford to come here are people with remote jobs, with salaries from bigger cities, or people with inherited or generational wealth of some variety, that's a shame. I think that when we have the opportunity to take advantage, we've been good recently at it. Home Depot is a huge win in so many ways. Our small contribution there, bringing in a major retailer on a dying space with the opportunity for multiplier effects from our investment once Home Depot is up and running next month, with whatever they choose to do with the rest of that property, where we could get more housing in a central location. So I think we already know about some of those things. These are the things where we can make a substantial and concrete difference in the life for many people in Albemarle, for many people in Albemarle County, for those just exiting college, for those career ladder jobs in the biosciences, in national security and intelligence, in agribusiness, if you want to go into the wine industry or the distilleries or cideries or meaderies or breweries that we have. I think this is a great starting point for us. And I don't want those specifics, because the experts that we have on staff are going to be the ones implementing it and giving those specifics. Sorry, I didn't mean to make a huge speech. I felt the music
Yes,
swelling.
sir.
So somebody told me it was time to get
It
off
was a
stage.
beautiful speech, Dave. Beautiful.
Well, and Emily, is your microphone still not working? Do you want to try? You're muted now.
How about now?
Yeah,
All right.
we can hear you.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to call on you in a second, Emily, but I think I'll say, as somebody who did interact, I understand what Frank's saying about the plan, but I interacted with the consultants and had very positive experiences, and I thought what they were providing was what they were getting in terms of the feedback that they were getting from people. So I think that some of the limitations, and Emily can speak to this better than I can, were just what they were asked to do. I mean, they were asked to sort of get a plan to a certain point, and that's what they did. Now, I can't say that I've looked at lots of these plans, but I think in general I was happy. I mean, my interactions I thought were very good. So, Emily, I don't know if you have any additional thoughts about that.
Yeah. So I think, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. The little green box wasn't coming my way. So I think, if you look at, again, just borrowing from some of the other strategic plans that the county has, they are also not what you might think of as a implementation plan or a work plan. They stay a little bit higher level. And part of that is because these strategic plans are multi-year efforts, and how the county allocates resources to specific program areas is done through our annual budgeting process. And so we use strategic planning to sort of set the near-term direction, and then work through annual budgeting to determine how we actually are able to advance some of those initiatives. And then also just recognizing that we don't exist in a vacuum. And there are kind of macroeconomic factors, there's environmental considerations, there are opportunities that kind of present themselves, and we have to respond to those sort of in real time. And so these strategic plan efforts are generally a way for us to sort of focus, what are the things that we should be focused on the most? Let's set goals around those. And that's, I think, what this plan tries to do by setting 3 target sectors, and then also looking at workforce and entrepreneurship, as well as investment opportunities. And then use that as really a decision-making tool as opportunities present for us to think through, is this the right allocation of resources? Is this the right way for us to use dollar resources? Is this the right way for us to use staff time resources, understanding that we get presented with a lot of opportunities, and we simply do not have the time or the people to go full bore at all of them. And so the way that we kind of operationally use these strategic plans is to help us decide, sort of as things come about, what do we need to be focused on, and sort of in what priority level. And so that's sort of the high level approach that we design the scope of work for the consultant services, and then have sort of worked through with the consultants as they've done the plan development process to deliver the draft that you've all received within the past week. The only other thing that I would just offer is that, I lost my train of thought.
What about so one thing I will add to that, well, give Emily a chance to get her train of thought back, is, one of the things that she and I have talked about is, when the county adopts an economic development plan, having us as an EDA, because a lot of the things in this plan are not EDA things, come up with an implementation plan for the things to address the kinds of things that Frank is talking about, and us saying specifically, here's the things we're going to do. And then I think, Emily, you had mentioned that you had a slide that had the county and the county's whole mission and vision, and how that might fit in to this.
Yeah, so Avery, I think it's the next slide. And I was live editing a slide deck, which is always a risky endeavor. So I think, Avery, if you bring the slideshow up, it should just be the next slide on the deck. And I offer this.
Sorry, I was just going to say I had a PDF version, so I apologize.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you. Thanks for bringing this up. So I wanted to pull this up just to sort of show this is the mission and the vision that apply sort of countywide. And this is part of the comp plan. This is part of the county's, again, sort of the broad strategic plan that covers all of the work of the county. It's how we orient our staff to the organization when they come on board with us. It's really part and parcel of the work that we do each day as public servants in Albemarle County. And I don't know if this helps or doesn't help the conversation, but I just wanted to make sure that you all saw this mission and vision, which I think, again, the vision specifically sits in the comprehensive plan and talks about a lot of the same things that I think we were talking about on the last slide. Everything that we do in economic development would be sort of couched in this broad mission and vision that we have for the community.
Thank you. That's helpful. Because I think that, that sort of goes to this idea that quality of life for good or for bad, in terms of what that means, is part of what we need to be thinking about. And I guess I'll sort of share my general thoughts. I agree that I did have some concerns about the will in that statement. I think the on the vision, the sort of what I would think of as sort of business type speech, more tagline-y stuff. I think that goes back to the idea that everybody's going to have what appeals to them.
Mhm.
I think what I take out of this discussion is that we need it to be clear that in this plan we're considering, it's not just growth for growth's sake or, build, that we do this in the context of trying to make the county a good place to live and preserve what's important, with the understanding that means different things to different people. And, but how do we protect the abundant natural, rural, historic, and scenic resources while having a thriving economy? I mean, there's always going to be balances there that we have to take. And I do think this plan, compared to Project Enable or other things, gives us areas for us to focus on. I think you can, if someone comes to us with a project and says, I want to do X, we can look at this plan and say, does that fit with where we want to go and what we want to do, or does it not? I mean, the example I used the other day was if I came and said, hey, I want to build an amusement park in Crozet, I think we could say that's not within the plan and not something that we want to do.
Did we already do that? Wait.
Yeah. So I think whereas there are other things that would clearly fall in this area. So my inclination would be, unless somebody feels differently, is I think we should provide the board with Jeff's slides as things that we talked about. And I think the general consensus is that quality of life, whatever that means, needs to be something that throughout the plan we consider in the decisions we're making, but it is ultimately an economic development plan, and that's part of the balance of what we're doing. Does that sound reasonable to everybody?
Yeah, and I think they go hand in hand. I mean,
Mhm.
I think it was Frank who said, quality of life's a good job, right? They go hand in hand. They're not
And I-
mutually exclusive, I don't think.
And I
Yeah,
would commend to you, because Jeff mentioned it to me when I was talking the other day, but the county's cost of services study that they did a couple of years ago, which has a lot of interesting discussion about, the cost, the sort of residential costs versus commercial costs versus, revenues. And I mean, I don't have any understanding of the methodology and how that gets there and whether what's in there is right or not. But I mean, just in terms of thinking about, what things like commercial development brings and tax revenue versus costs and how that might offset other costs, I thought was very helpful in my thinking. So if we don't have other comments, then why don't we move on to Jeff's second slide?
There's a second one.
Yeah, the good news is the first one was intentionally global in the hope that I could invite.
This one is much more.
This is very focused. So
one might refer to this one as the B. Lepisto Kirtley slide.
well, I do have something to say about that, actually, because so this was you might remember that Supervisor B has on more than one occasion mentioned the benefits of allowing restaurants in the rural area.
Yep.
She, just for clarity's sake, she did not ask me to pursue this. I researched this on my own initiative at her prompting in the meetings that this is something she'd like to see, and I didn't know anything about it. And I was surprised to learn that it's nearly impossible to serve sit-down food in 95% of the county, the rural area. If the county allowed restaurants by special permit, as I'm suggesting here, as we suggest that we'd be recommending to the Board of Supervisors. It's not like the floodgates will open because the special permit process is
Right.
grueling. It's very expensive. It takes a long time. The staff takes its first crack at it. The Planning Commission then votes on it with recommendations to the Board of Supervisors. There's 2 rounds of public hearing before or at the second one will be at that vote with the supervisors, and they have broad discretion, the supervisors do, to reject any application. So what we're proposing here isn't like, a Burger King on every corner. It's just empowering the supervisors where it makes sense to have the ability to approve. You could imagine a winery that has all the facilities. The customers are already there, so we're not adding traffic. It increases for the county the value of the real estate if it's allowed to serve food there. Like it's the win-win kind of thing. And I chose this one. There were other instances that I could have used to illustrate this point, but I thought this would be good for catalyzing the smaller, kind of more focused discussion about individual planks in the plan. And I know, again, Chair Long, if it's you can watch the time. I just think, I think it's just a good discussion, and it makes eminent sense from the way I look at it.
Other thoughts?
I think
Since
we're all in agreement. I would just
Yeah.
I would change consider to just recommend. I mean, let's be more emphatic. I mean, like, why not? I mean, makes perfect sense, right?
Well, and
Well, I think, I think this would be language in the strategy. So I'm not sure I don't know what the right wording
Me
for
neither,
this
but I
would
mean,
be. Yeah.
consider seems kind of like, I don't know.
David had something to say about
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
well, I was going to say that this actually ties into a different strategy under a different
Oh,
thing. And
okay.
it's strategy 4.5, which talks about expanding destination restaurant, entertainment, and retail experiences. I mean, if I sit here and say, hey, I really, I'm craving Dr. Hose. I say just
Always.
Dr. Hose, and I think
Who
everybody
isn't?
knows what I
Who
mean,
isn't?
right? Right? But you know what I mean, but you know where it is too, right? It's not in a development area. It's down at the crossroads. But that's the kind of thing. That's a destination restaurant for
Yeah.
us locally.
Yep.
I would love the equivalent of a barbecue exchange, right? How often do you get a classically trained chef running a barbecue joint,
Yeah.
but it's 2 counties away? I guess technically 1, right? I think we get that. little
Depending on how you
sliver
get
there.
there.
Depending on how you get there, right? But those are the types of things, right? So we're already recommending that under a different thing, and that's part of the empowered
Yeah.
talent and keeping people here, because you get those types of activities. So I think this is a no-brainer in terms
Yeah.
of that, but it also ties into, part of the 5th goal, which is streamlining the process. You can still keep it a special use permit, but it maybe isn't as onerous as it is currently. So
Yep.
you've got a developer and a restaurateur who are willing to work together to bring something like that to fruition. I sit here and I think about this, and I lament that my good friend Wilson Ritchie is no longer with us, because I think he would have been somebody who would have been all over this type of opportunity in the county. So I think these are great opportunities for us, and that they will add to quality of life. So
Absolutely.
thank you.
Anybody else have, Bill?
Yeah, my only note is, and David touched on it, is it is a special use permit. That's all. But agreed, all counts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, the other part of this is there is food now. It's just kind of arbitrarily limited by, the kinds of food that can be served or coming from a food truck or, so I think they're, taking some common sense approaches to that, and there are lots of balancing and lots of issues there. But I think I certainly support that. So I think we could certainly recommend.
Definitely.
I think we could say that the EDA supports that addition, unless Frank feels differently.
No, I fully support it.
All right.
Yeah, may I?
What
say
about
something?
so we've talked about
Ron?
Jeff's suggestions, which I appreciate the fact that he took the time to put these together, and I think they were very helpful in us talking about the big picture issues involving the plan. Is there anything anybody else had in particular that they wanted to bring up?
I do.
Was B trying to
Yep.
talk?
Oh, sorry.
yes.
I can't seem to get. I don't have everybody on my screen, so I'm not.
Right.
seeing.
Well, it's because I'm short. You didn't see me.
Yeah,
No,
it's,
no,
yeah,
no,
just looked
not
right over
that.
you, B. Sorry.
Not that.
You looked over me. So I'm just going to bring this up because one supervisor made the comment about, well, they didn't want restaurants opening up all over the rural area because it's going to be a drain on water resources or whatever. As you know, I was thinking restaurants with wineries and such, where it made sense. It's not going to impede traffic, not going to bother neighbors. So I think all those things have to be taken into consideration. But you all have actually opened up my mind, my thinking, because if you're living out in a rural area, you don't really have access to, restaurants. And that's kind of a shame that you have to drive so far to be able to have that. So yeah, this may open up a can of worms, but you know what? It's worth exploring.
Yeah, and there's certainly, you got to weigh lots of different factors.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Yep.
And that reminds me of what I lost my train of thought on.
Oh, she's back.
Just so I will not talk again. This is a good example of the how things in the strategic plan could start full processes to formally evaluate the details of a lot of the things that are in here. So amending the county code to look at rural area food and beverage service, it would be a whole effort that would require work by community development and others to evaluate. We want to make sure that we do, a full appropriate process for that. And so inclusion here is not approval of that thing happening, but simply for us to be able to start focusing on what those next steps might look like. And I will finish. Thank you.
Well, Emily, do you think it should be consider or recommend amending?
Correct.
Someone mentioned recommend.
If folks want recommend, we certainly can. We're going to fix special permit to special use permit. If this body would recommend, we're certainly happy to.
I think rather than offer specific language to that, I think we would recommend that rural restaurants in rural areas be considered by the board. I don't know what somebody can come up with the.
You did both things.
Don going to the passive voice right away.
Yeah,
like a good lawyer.
We're all winners.
Don, the reason I had chosen the word consider was that it was just consistent with other instances of recommended changes to code. And I think the I'm assuming, just reading between the lines, the consultants were concerned. They chose that word carefully just to say, hey, we want it on the agenda for discussion so that someone reading this that was not as familiar with the process as we are wouldn't read it and jump to conclusions that just because it was included that was going to happen.
Right. No, I think that's right. I think it's fine. I think reading the other, continue to expand, support producers, consider amending. If it lines up with the sort of structure of those statements, I'm totally fine.
We could consider recommending amendment.
Yeah, right.
I think we're recommending considering, actually, is what we're doing.
Okay. Okay.
Jeff
All right.
feels like we're taking a meat cleaver to his writing.
That's all good. No
It's like
pride of
Jefferson.
authorship.
That's what Jefferson felt.
That's right.
I can imagine.
Okay. Anything else that anybody want, any specific comments? And, if anybody in the course of their reading has anything else they want to bring up, I think, certainly probably at this point, just sending their thoughts to, I think, this group and then to the board as a whole, or sharing them with members of the Board of Supervisors are probably the best thing to do, so that, the sooner rather than later in terms of comments, so that the board has time to consider that. Does the board have, so our meeting's on the joint meeting is on the 13th. Is there another regular board meeting between now and then?
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
yeah, that's coming up on August the 6th.
Okay.
So week before.
Okay. So anything else?
I do have some wordsmithing things, but I think I can share those directly with the staff in terms
think
of how some stuff is written. And some
I think
phrasing.
everyone would really like to just, why don't we pull it up and let's just start writing right now? I'm
Let's
sure that
go.
everyone would appreciate that.
It's many years as an editor. I've got some things that I would like to teach consultants on how to write and language and that sort of stuff. But I'll share it with the staff, and they can, take my comments and promptly shred them, and that'll be fine.
Well, thank you, David. Thanks, everybody. I really appreciate the time and effort. I know people have spent time reading and thinking, and I think this has been a good discussion. And I think, as I said to Jeff when he and I were talking about it, I think having these discussions is good. It's helpful. It makes us all think about different
Yeah.
ideas and bring up different things. And I appreciate everyone's time and effort.
And Don, I'd like to thank everybody who came and attended virtually. We don't normally get a lot of turnout, but I am appreciative of everybody who stuck with us, and encourage everybody who's interested to either tune in or find a way to attend and help us be better. Basically, that's what we're looking for.
Emily, anything else before we adjourn? Avery, you're allowed to speak again, even though you said you weren't.
So we have added the draft document that you all received by email to the county's Engage page. So engage.albemarle.org/EDSP. And there's also an opportunity for folks to submit comments there. We'll take those through August 8th and provide an email update to the board and the EDA ahead of your joint meeting on the 13th with the comments that we've received, so that you have the full benefit of those as well. And the packet materials for the joint meeting will go up the Wednesday prior.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Thanks, everybody. I will adjourn this meeting until our joint meeting with the Board of Supervisors on August 13th.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Take care, everybody.
Good one.
Thank you.